It's been exactly a year since The Weeknd kicked off the storyline of his newest cinematic universe with the cryptic video for Sacrifice, which I broke down last year with the help of the amazing Our Thoughts podcast in this video, and 1 year later that story is still unfolding, and the video for Is There Someone Else finally gives us the answer to that year-old question: there isn't. After the life of vice that we saw him enjoy on After Hours, The Weeknd takes us through a purgatory on his new album, dealing with the trauma of his past failed relationships, more specifically the trauma he inflicted through the toxicity that he's been candid and proud about throughout his career. I go a lot more into this background in my album breakdown, and it involves some central artistic references that you may have missed.
And day by day he watched his sins etch themselves upon his painted portrait, while he himself stayed young and handsome.
But in this purgatory, he's reliving these past relationships one by one and being tortured by the mistakes he made in each one. And all of this is being carried out by this cult of celebrity, spearheaded by Jim Carrey, resetting the cycle by putting this mask on him every time. In this song, we see a different side of Abel than we're used to. He's no longer the villain, but he's a victim. Insecure about not being the only lover, but the route that the video took doesn't show us any of the reasons for him to believe this. He's projecting because of all the times he's been the one keeping secrets, and he even says this is the reason in his own words. Instead, the video is a deep dive into the paranoid mind of Abel in this state. He's afraid of his sins coming back to haunt him. He knows what he deserves in purgatory is to suffer until he learns to change, which, as we've seen video after video, is proving to be a long, tormenting process. We see this paranoia turn into mania, obsession, and the way the straight-up stalking is carefully dropped in bits and pieces until the clearest, loneliest revelation in the middle is such a beautiful way of trapping us in his paranoid mind with him. We see the steps of how he plays what he's doing off to justify it, even to himself. So let's break these down. The dancing for him in the blinds at the start. In his stalking, he still looks at everything she does as being directed at him, some sort of hint or taunt that she's throwing at him. But then comes the doubt of her loyalty because of that recognition of his karma. He sits up, starts to think, could she be doing all these things for someone else? Almost like the same way I did? The imagery of blinds makes a clever split after the first time we see Abel actually stalking, because not only is it literally watching her every move like a psychopath, it also lets us know it's the subtle ways obsession manifests, like rewatching old tapes and going through old photos, not being able to let go of something you could see clearly enough through these mediums to believe it's still there. In this visual loneliness, Abel imagines this world where she is his possession. There are only two people that exist, him and her entire identity is defined by the relationship she had with him. In purgatory now, it's him that would fall apart without control of her. Because much like in his In Your Eyes music video, at the end of the day, she has the power to put an end to his delusions by leaving him forever. The blinds that he looks through also become bars, capable of shutting him in. The first and last scenes are actually in reverse order, or the first scene is what Abel saw in his head and the last scene is what actually happened, but that opening scene before he puts on the mask is what he imagines her doing with the other guy while he's actually stalking like he is at the end. So if he loses her to the other guy, again he didn't, it's in his head. In purgatory, he suffers the pain of not only losing her, but losing her after finally having attachment to the point of obsession, and worse, losing her to someone just as bad as him.